Hello everybody, we are the Geeks and Degenerates, and today, as you've seen in the thumbnail and the description, we are doing Thor, the 2011 film directed by Kenneth Branagh, which introduced the world to Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, that's true.
that is true.
That's actually true.
Because before that, Hemsworth just had Star Trek by J.J. Abrams, and he had like a quick
We just had Star Trek.
Yeah.
Well,
Just had Star Trek. It's just a small franchise called Star Trek. No one knows what it is.
Yeah.
He was there for like 3 minutes and then he blew up.
Yeah. But yeah, this is the fourth entry into the MCU at this point, or third?
Iron Man.
Wait, Iron Man.
Hulk. Then this?
Yeah. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Because they do mention Hulk in this movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Northern Hulk.
Yeah.
Did you guys have any expectations, or did you know nothing about the character before you watched
None.
the movie?
Nothing. I cared zero. All I knew was that when I went, I think I went to like a prom in Bacolod. I was a date for my cousin. When I was there, that's when I watched the movie, and that's when I found out about the movie. I was like, oh, is he like Iron Man? I was like, no, he's a god. I was like, I don't care.
You were
Okay,
your
I watched
cousin's prom date?
Yep.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, and like, yeah, when I was in Bacolod, that's when I watched it. And not gonna lie, I was like, surprisingly enough, I was like, oh, this is gonna open a lot of doors for Marvel to play around with. Like, at that age, I was like, I wonder what they're gonna do next. And then you see that purple guy at the end. And if you say spoilers, yo, this movie's been out for almost like 10 years.
Huh?
Purple guy?
Purple guy?
Hawkeye?
No, what's his name?
Thanos?
Wasn't like Thanos?
At the end?
Thanos? No, Thanos showed up after Avengers, didn't he? Wasn't that the first time he showed
No, I
up?
thought. Oh no! Didn't they show like the glove?
Yeah.
Oh, the Infinity Gauntlet. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They showed, like the glove.
Yeah, the fake copy that they had.
Yeah.
We found out in Ragnarok.
And everybody was like, "Oh!" Yeah,
Mhm.
it's like, the possibilities. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. I saw this after the Avengers because it's one of the ones I skipped out on. So I'm like, I like you. I'm like, do I really want to watch about Norse mythology? Not really. Wasn't that too interested in it at the time. But when I did watch it, I'm like, oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like it's a good starter.
Yeah.
How about you, Sub? Like, what you thought about it?
Like I said, before all of the MCU came out, I watched the Ultimate Avengers movies.
Right.
And I played a little bit of Ultimate Alliance too. So I have some experience with ensemble Marvel shit, which always includes Thor. And I knew two things about Thor. He's really powerful, he does the lightning shit, he has a hammer, and he's also very stupid. So I expected him to be very stupid. I didn't really expect to like him, because in Ultimate Avengers, I didn't like him. But I thought he was super powerful. And I liked his hammer in Ultimate Avengers, because it's more like what Stormbreaker looks like in the MCU.
Yeah.
Like, the Ultimate Thor hammer, to me, is the best Thor hammer aesthetically. But yeah, I didn't really... In terms of what to expect from Thor, I actually expected him to be an unappealing character that would be really, really powerful in the MCU's big gun.
This is okay. I rewatched this movie for this review recently, and I haven't watched it in such a long time that I forgot that this was how Thor started out.
Yeah.
Like he was like a very warmongering kind of god. I was like, I don't remember Thor being like this. I thought he was like the funny guy. And why does he have bleached eyebrows? I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'll be real with you, I actually really like this Thor. Like, I know that the mainstream audience
Like the funny Thor.
loves the Taika Waititi Thor.
Yeah.
Like, they never actually wanted to go back after that. But I loved where Thor started. In fact, if you're looking at the MCU timeline and looking at a lot of the storylines, like, I don't think anyone's grown more than Thor.
Agreed.
Despite his solo movies being shit, his arc has been great. And he's the most deconstructed character from all of them. And starting from this, which is more akin to the mythology Thor, where he is a trigger-happy, war-happy asshole.
Yeah.
Who also wasn't necessarily a piece of shit, but wasn't the best guy. I actually liked him. A lot. I kind of saw him as somewhat like the Superman of the MCU. And this was also, like, I think the last time Odin was kind of decent until, like, the third act of the movie. And then, like, he was never a father after that.
Alright.
No, because, like, up until the third act of the movie, like, Odin was keeping Thor in line the way a good father should. Like, Thor wanted to go after the Frost Giants, and his dad was like, "You fucking idiot!" And then he's like, "Well, when I'm king," and he's like, "But you're not king, not yet."
I gotta love that dialogue though. And what I love the most is that when Loki like approached a little bit, you hear Odin going, "Ah!" I'm like, what? No, seriously, rewatch that scene.
I loved that scene. The "you're not king."
Yeah.
Scene.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the best delivery from Anthony Hopkins in this entire franchise. He never felt more like a better character in the MCU than that, and maybe like his death.
Yeah.
And it was, to me, a nice thing to have Thor progressively deconstruct, because the more you deconstruct a god, the better a god becomes. And from all of the characters, he's really the one that you have to continuously fucking beat on a million times in order for you to really get to the humanity part of Thor. And this is, like, until Ragnarok, this was his best MCU solo movie. Like, people keep on thinking about Dark World and thinking that Thor has shit solo movies because of Dark World. Thor had one shitty Thor movie.
That's true.
And it was the second one. But for some reason, because Thor 1 was just so early into its infancy, that everyone just started going, yeah, we don't really care about Thor. But this was not a bad movie. It's not a bad movie.
This is Marvel. This is not Disney Marvel, by the way. This is still like
Universal.
Yeah,
Universal Marvel.
The shot of Thor exiting the monster's mouth, like, alright, that's all.
Yeah, I forgot about that scene where he just pretty much launches himself straight through this monster's mouth and out his skull. And I was like, right, I forgot it's not Disney. and him butchering the amount of like frost giants he came across, I was like, this is really cool. Yeah, I like that part. But yeah, this is the first time I think Marvel was dabbling into magic.
Yeah, it's like, how do we make these things mix? Where we started with Iron Man and the Hulk,
and then the
all
Hulk.
Science. But how
it's very grounded.
Yeah, how do we make Thor fit into this universe? And you can still tell that they're still trying to figure things out.
Yeah, it was very experimental still.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And they found their niche. They found their like formula to make it right with Taika Waititi and stuff. Yeah. But like, you can't say that this is a bad movie. Like, you really can't. This is actually a really good starter for a new character.
I actually wouldn't say na parang they were... Like, you make it sound like he was an awkward fit. I feel like he was always gonna fit into the universe. He's a really easy character to adjust into an ensemble, because Thor has a very clear role. He's objectively one of the most, if not the most powerful of the initial Avengers lineup. Like, Hulk stole the show. But let's be real, like, Thor is the reason they were able to really make space. Like, what was Thor doing in Avengers 1? He was actually the equivalent of, like, a machine gun turret. Like, when things were going through the portal, he's just like, zap, 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 fuck, that one got through, zap, 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 zap.
He was a turret. Yeah.
He was a big gun. The only
Yeah.
reason that, like, people liked Hulk more was that, like, he had some great scenes.
Yeah.
But really, they used Thor's power to keep as many of them at bay as possible. And he was the only guy able to solo the giant caterpillar thingies. And because of his attachment now to Earth, because, like, this is where he learned to be a better person.
Yeah.
Like, that's not hard to, like, use as the reason as to why Earth is under his protection. Like, sure, he's with Natalie Portman, and if you were a god and was dating Natalie Portman, you would also do your best to protect her home, because that's Natalie Portman. She's
Right there.
she's been disappointed by a powerful man before, so you don't want to do it again. Anakin.
But
You're
yeah,
going down a path they cannot follow.
just a quick recap, like as Jomer mentioned, that Thor starts out as an asshole. He's basically a warmonger. He's also like a really spoiled rich kid. Like, Dad says I'm in line for the throne first, so I get to do anything I want.
Yeah.
And then when his day gets spoiled by the frost giants, he goes to Jotunheim to basically fuck their shit up to start a war. And then Odin has to save his ass, and Odin's like, you're not worthy of any of this, and he banishes them on Earth. And that's where we meet Jane, Darcy, and Selvig.
Stalin Skarsgård.
Yeah. I was like,
Sorry, I forgot his name. It's just Stalin
Selvig.
Skarsgård.
Eric Selvig.
yeah.
The guy from Chernobyl.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they meet because Jane accidentally runs him over with her minivan. You're like, oh shit, please don't be dead.
Twice.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. Damn, I'm happy Natalie Portman's back, and now she's Jack, which is hotter.
You know that they actually CG'd her arms a bit.
Okay.
No, but like to me that's not terrible. Like,
Okay.
all right, let's be realistic about it. If you're in your 40s and you need to build up Chris Hemsworth level of muscles in your woman, it's not fair for you to realistically want Natalie Portman to jack up that much. She is in her 40s.
I keep forgetting Natalie Portman's in her 40s.
She's in her fucking 40s, bro.
She doesn't look that old.
She doesn't look old, but because she's Natalie Portman. But she is a woman in her 40s. Also, not a very heavy-set woman. Like, she's not a muscly woman naturally. Like, the point of Thor is to be portrayed as strong, but you can always kind of go the Gal Gadot route with it. And hell, maintaining those muscles, even if she did get to that point of jacked,
It's probably helper.
dude, even Chris deteriorated mid-shoot.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
A mid-shoot of
Of Thor, Love and Thunder.
Oh, I did not.
Because this is his biggest physique, right?
Hmm.
He said, like, the more... I haven't seen the movie, none of us have. But he says, like, the more you go into the movie, the more you'll see that my body was actually getting smaller.
Oh.
It's hard to maintain that kind of muscle mass forever.
Hmm.
It's really hard. And for her to actually get to the point where she did, there are some pictures of her with massive muscles.
Yes.
And that's real, but there is some of it that is slightly CG'd, but not too much. But going back, yes, it's great to have her back, but also, if we're talking about this point in the MCU, man, did they fuck Jane Foster over.
Yeah, she's not that developed.
No,
She's like,
she's not.
oh, she's just a smart scientist who falls in love with Thor.
Yeah, and it's kind of quick to, like, I don't know, it's very wishy-washy kind of, like, love. I was like, really? That quick? But, it's a Marvel movie.
I wouldn't say it's too quick. I'd say that it's very teenage, which happens.
Hmm.
I believe that it's something that can happen.
Oh yeah, it's Chris Hemsworth.
No, because like
Yeah,
if you're a fucking scientist and you've been isolated for a long time, having a connection with someone that like gets what you do on a level that no one else has. Even though it's absurd, because even her, like everything she's been studying is supposedly absurd. Like, for someone to actually relate to you on the level and not think you're crazy, and in fact might be crazier than you. Like, I get where the connection comes from. Falling in love, a bit of a stretch, but it's whatever. It's kind of for kids, so I'm not gonna shit on it too much. I am pissed off though at. Well, mostly it's just the Thor 2 portrayal. Like, it really deteriorates in Thor 2. And you get a glimpse of it in Thor 1, you know, after he shows up in the Thor outfit, and she's like, this is how you normally look? And then, like, she actually simps. She's like, it's a good look.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get to that when we get to it, but, like, yeah.
Then we get back to Asgard, where Loki confronts Odin, because during the battle in Jotunheim, he notices that Frost Giant touches him and he's not really affected, or his skin turns blue, and he's like, that's odd.
Yeah.
That's where he confronts Odin. It's like, what's the truth? Tell me!
That was good dialogue, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I like the scene.
Yeah, and I feel like and the MC didn't know how beloved Tom Hiddleston it was going to be yet, but as the years go by, you're like, damn, he's one hell of a powerhouse actor.
I would say like he was very meek and very like neutral at the beginning of this film, and then once he put on the helmet and he's on the throne, that's when he kind of like skyrocketed. Like his character just went from 10 to 100.
That was the mistake that they made. Like they made Loki so multidimensional, but they also made the mistake of him being right. Like, sure, they were doing it for like, no matter how you justify the reasons for why Odin adopted him, he's still wrong, and he's still basically the Pocahontas of Frost Giants.
Wait, what do you mean?
Because he was raised under the impression that he was an equal to Thor. And knowing that he was never gonna take the throne. Like, would they have actually given him the fucking throne? I don't think they would have. They wouldn't have given the throne to a Frost Giant. Even a Frost Giant that was raised with them all their lives. So there was always gonna be a ceiling on his worth. He was always gonna be in the shadow of Thor. No matter how much better he was. No matter how much he served his family. And because he's the god of mischief, they always default see him as the bad guy. As someone who's up to some bullshit.
And, like, you kind of get the chemistry between him and Thor. Like, sure, they developed on it, like, later on into the movies, but, like, when Thor is speaking to his dad and Loki would try to interject, and he would be like, know your place, brother. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, alright, it's that kind of relationship.
I mean, like, Thor, I think, was ruled by his arrogance. And that really is true. He was ruled by his arrogance, but, like, he actually always genuinely loved Loki. Like, even when Loki was revealed to be the bad guy, he didn't want to hurt him.
Yeah.
Even in the Avengers! After he came back to life, he was more happy than he was, like, pissed. Even when it happened again that he was alive. Like, he wanted to know where the fuck Odin went, but he was, like, he forgave Loki an endless amount of times. And he loved Loki more than, I believe, even the fucking throne. And that's the complication in that relationship. Like, Loki wanted power in what he thought he was owed. Thor wanted to get along with his brother. That's what hurts in that relationship, and that's what works in that dynamic. Sure, it took a while for the people to get on Thor's side fully. It was really easy to get on Loki's side. Because if you spend your entire life believing that if you work hard and just fight the right fight, that eventually you'll get what you deserve, that being not the case, a lot of people can easily relate to that. But it's also hard Like, it will take some time for you to understand that the guy with that privilege was not the one responsible for your life being as miserable as you see it.
Mm.
He wasn't put in a really complicated spot. The development of it was beautiful, but you could see how much he loves Loki. He loves Loki so fucking much, and he never turned his back on Loki.
Yeah.
The only time that he did, kind of in Ragnarok, was because that's it. He thought Loki wanted. He gave him his space. He didn't turn his back on him.
Yeah.
Which is just so fucking sad.
Knowing what happens next,
Yeah.
especially.
I mean, what happens next is a... Alright, I would say that Loki had the most beautiful MCU exit.
Mm.
Like, above everyone else. No one had a better MCU exit than him. Even as opposed to Tony, I think his was better. Because you saw an entire character arc go on for 10 years, or 9 or 8, to culminate in this man getting to the point where he is. You know what he says. You know what he proclaims himself as before he dies.
Mm.
And that's how he goes out. Without that bitterness. Without the need for that power. He goes out an Odin's son.
Mm.
And that was probably the closest Thor felt to his brother. And
Yeah.
that's so fucking sad. Like, I don't know how things are gonna be if he shows up again in Love and Thunder.
Oh, fuck. Would he be... Well, we're not talking about that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how, going back to the plot, that's how Odin gets to the Odin sleep and Loki takes the throne and going back to Earth. I do like how there's a theme of earthly things taking down Thor, like a taser, being sedated, and being
Car.
a car again. And he's always like, you dare challenge? Oh,
No, I love that scene where he like comes into the pet store and he's like, I need a horse. And I was like, what do you have? We're like, dogs, cats.
It was such a great
birds.
callback to Ultimate Thor. Because, like, Ultimate Thor was the type of guy who would join the Save the Whales protesters. Like, Thor is such an absurdly not in touch with the real world dude.
Yep.
Because he just doesn't get it. And, like, the moments like Give Me Another, which is still a meme.
Yep.
And I need a horse walking into a normal-ass pet shop is just... it's so Ultimate Thor. Like, oh, honey, I love how much you don't get it.
Yeah, but I do love it. It was like, get me one that's big enough to ride. I'm like, what?
and
I was like, alright.
this drink, I like it. Another! We're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah, and of course Jane had to like put some sense into him, like, oh nope, we don't do that here.
Yeah, and then later on when he drinks with Selvig, and then they have what you assume is a quick brawl, and Alex still has this goofy like smile on his face because he's passed out drunk. Like,
Yeah.
they bonded. But eventually Shield comes in and takes Jane's stuff because it's classified apparently.
Yeah,
And
because she was right. No, but yeah,
Thor has to sneak in the facility because his hammer's also there. He's like, you know what? I'll get your stuff back too. And he takes out a bunch of guys, including one really big guy, and goes to his hammer. Up above is Hawkeye watching too. Like, do I do it?
yeah, we get a cameo from Hawkeye with Jeremy Renner,
Yeah.
where he's like, sniper? No, something weaker. No, but he's really good with the bow. So
Yeah, yeah.
who knows? Maybe he had this like set of like explosive bows.
I mean,
To be fair to them, this is just a dude. I don't think he had the wherewithal to understand that he probably should have equipped a fucking explosive arrow or a trick arrow on him.
Okay, he was still at that point of his job where he's like,
Thor didn't have his power, so he's just a dude.
yeah, so like a bow would have been enough, right? I forgot about that.
Yep.
Thor tries to lift it, he can't, and then he's arrested by Shield, and Coulson questions him, like, "Are you from Afghanistan, Chechnya?" took out
Son of Cole.
Son of Cole.
No, but yeah, I like that. Like they kind of assumed that he was pretty much like a mercenary.
Yeah, and then I like the scene where Phil leaves for a bit, and then Loki comes and he's like, "Hey, sorry to tell you that Dad's dead, and Mom doesn't want to see you again." And
Yeah.
Thor and Loki say their goodbyes, which is a great scene. I can't really remember what exactly they say, but Phil comes back and he's like, "Goodbye, I just got back."
Yeah. No, but what was nice about that scene was that like when Loki like turned around, the camera was still on him. You can still see his face, and you're expecting like an evil grin. Like, nope, there's still a little bit of like conflict.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the purpose of that scene, but I would like to think so. Like, the man still didn't smile. He was like, "Shit, there goes my brother. I gotta go because I gotta throw."
Yeah. But Selvig gets to rescue Thor, or have him taken out of prison, because he's like, "Hey, Donald Blake is actually a colleague of mine who's super strong, but he just went
That's
out
the
of
last
control."
time, right?
Yeah. And they exit, but Thor gets to get Jane's book back.
Which I was like, nobody noticed, like, especially the guy in front of the desk. He was like,
Yeah, he's like,
"Go ahead, man." Like, I was like, there's a guy with a suit right there where he just grabbed the book and just left. I was like, okay.
I do like how he tells Jim, like, "You're right about your research. What you call science and what we call magic, or what you call magic is what we call science, and they're one and the same."
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah. And they had like this heart-to-heart moment after he brought like Selvig back home from drinking. Yeah, it's a good like touchy moment where they start to humanize Thor. I would like to say.
I love that scene because it's so objectively stupid. Because like if you
the
were
tree scene?
no that scene like you're talking about Selvig, then later with Jane, right?
Yeah.
It sounds so stupid. It's like, imagine you've been a scientist all your life, then this motherfucker starts talking about a rainbow bridge.
And she was like, "Yeah, that makes sense."
But then the astrology also lines the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, what they've been seeing and what the fuck he's talking about makes sense. But you're just like, it sounds so stupid. It's like I'm listening to like a Grimm Brothers storybook. Or some shit. Like, he knows what he's talking about, but he's also saying it in a different dialect. You know, it's like the difference between like Tagalog and Bisaya. You're all in the same place, but for some reason the way he's saying it just doesn't make sense to you. As like how you would factually portray something. And that's the thing about Thor, like he's like such a cross between someone who completely gets things we don't understand and doesn't understand the most basic things that we do.
Yeah.
Like his intelligence is all over the place. You don't know where it's really at. And he's actually portrayed as super complicated. Like you can't really make heads or tails of like, is he a dumbass? Is he a god? He's definitely a warrior. But is he an idiot or anything like that? Like, you can't... There was so much about Thor that was left a bit ambiguous. And it turns out he is just a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
He's a bit of an idiot, he's a bit of a goof, he's a tremendous warrior, he's truly very heroic, and he's trying his best.
That's the important part.
I mean, he does know a little bit of his, like, home world's lore, so
he understands. Like this motherfucker paid attention to class, just on the wrong planet.
Yeah.
Who
knows? Education might be really good in Asgard, so.
Because how he portrayed how like the Asgardian realm works is accurate. It's just taught very differently there. Because to them, they are the gods. They are the big head honchos of the universe. He's like, effectively an Eternal trying to explain things to a mortal.
Yep.
So,
to him, it's a bit simple. To her, it's just like, there's no fucking way that that's real.
And then we go back to Asgard, where you find out that Loki is plotting along with the Frost Giants. He's like, hey, I know a secret passageway, or I can get you into Asgard, and you can slit Odin's throat. At the same time, the Warriors 3, right? Are like,
Mm.
hey, since you're king, can you bring back Thor? No. Why? Because
Well, I can't go against my like predecessor. I think you can if you're a king, but like you can't go against your predecessor's like
orders.
orders or like law
Yeah.
or whatever. And I was like, I think you can though. But anyway,
That's all, honestly another complaint I have is that the Warriors 3, they're not really developed as well. You're like, oh, okay, that's...
we do get a little bit of development from Sif, where she was like, oh, she actually had a crush on Thor, and I'm like, why is he with like a mortal or something? But like, anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there when we get there.
But yeah, you're just like, oh, that's the guy from Punisher, and that's all I know.
Yeah.
And you're so like not familiar with them that you don't even recognize that Zachary Levi replaces the other guy in the secret. Like, oh, I think it's the same guy.
You know, it was such big news back then. They were like, Zachary Levi's joining Marvel to replace a character.
Which
sorry,
character?
replace an actor. Yeah,
Which
the guy we barely know, and
Exactly.
he dies.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay.
All right, fine.
Even Thor's mom, like, it's not even a two-dimensional character at this point. It's just
Did they replace the actress for that?
no.
For
same
who?
actress.
Okay, same actress. I think.
Thor's mom.
Oh yeah, it's been the same lady forever.
Yeah.
They kept her.
Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's great. She's amazing. I love her.
She had almost zero dialogue here. So
Yeah,
that's
it's only
kind of shit.
later on that she brings weight to.
She gets some great dialogue in the shit movie.
Yeah.
She's such a great mom.
Who else is underdeveloped? Well, Heimdall's not really developed either. You're like, oh, it's Alba and he doesn't do much. I get
Yeah,
that.
he was cool though. He was cool. Like he kind of got his character right off the bat, but like at the same time, you kind of want to see more. But
Yeah.
it is an hour and 54-minute movie.
Asgard's bouncer.
Yeah,
He's Asgard's bouncer.
pretty much.
Show me your ID. Nope, you're not getting in the club.
But Heimdall sends the Warriors 3 down to Earth because they convince him to send them down there.
I'm really convinced. He was like, you're going like without permission. Go right ahead.
Yeah, he's like on it already.
Yeah, he already heard like the plans. Like, yep, that seems like a good plan. Loki's an asshole.
Yeah.
Get it?
And then Loki obviously sees the beam, and then he sets the destroyer loose.
Which I really like. I like seeing that thing. I wish I saw more of it, or like they'll use that kind of villain or tool
And then I like how
later on.
when it appears, they're like, "Is that one of Stark's?" Like, I don't fucking know anymore.
Yeah, Coulson was like, he doesn't tell me anything anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, damn, I'm sorry.
Both of you to assume he's ever told you anything.
Dude.
As Steph pointed out in the Avengers video, is that their solution to everything is clogs. You're like, oh, it's a big machine from space. The pistol will do.
Yeah, everybody's just like, oh god, that thing had one of like the coolest sound effects every time it fired its like head beam.
Yeah.
Head beam.
What is it? It's coming from the head. It's a beam.
It's the Zack Snyder
Doomsday.
Doomsday thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, where on his face do you want the laser beam to come from? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Same with the Sentinels from Future Past. You're like, oh, that's
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, everything is a laser beam.
Yeah. But yeah, it's destroying the town in the Warriors 3, trying to take it out. I like how Lady Sif tries to take it from on top, but like she stabs through it, but it turns around like the Exorcist. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and like I would say this was actually a pretty cool fight scene without the effects. I like it when, like especially like earlier on when they were fighting the Frost Giants. These were really good choreo, in my opinion. Especially when they fought the big guy until Thor came in and he did this whole like tornado, whatever. And I was like, all right, kind of lost me there.
Yeah, and then that's where Thor redeems himself because he's like, hey, let these people go. They're innocent. If you're gonna take anyone's life, take mine. And then you think Loki's like, nah, I won't do that. But he turns around and just backhands him. Like, oh, okay.
That's all it takes. Backhand! Man launches towards a card and it's like, oh, fuck. And that was enough, and I was like, alright, cool. I will say this part was kinda cheesy with how they dispatched the destroyer.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like, the cheesy part is the, oh my god, from Jane.
Oh, that's also kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
Like
I like it,
the
though.
thing where
It's
he redeems himself, he grabs a hammer midair. That was
Let's
cool.
be real. First phase MCU had mostly cheesy
Cheese.
third acts.
Yes.
Like they weren't great third acts. They were very cheesy.
Yep.
And then they go to the spot where they think Heimdall can summon them back to Asgard, but he's frozen because early on, Loki already had the Frost Giants enter Asgard, and they froze him. Well, he froze Heimdall, and then
They called it the casket, right? I forgot what they called it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then what's the name of the main Frost Giant? Laufey is about to slit Odin's throat, but Loki stops him. And he's like, "Oh, I'm the hero now."
Yeah, but we did see like another decapitation within this movie where Heimdall like breaks free and just immediately just cuts off one of the Frost Giants. I was like, nice.
Yeah.
All right.
And then Thor tries to stop Loki at first, but like he's kicked out of the room or thrown out of the room. And then Loki rides via horse to set the machine to destroy Jotunheim. And Thor's like, no, that's not how we do things. Like, why? Why can't I wipe out an entire planet? And Thor's like, because.
Yeah, and I do like that little bit of exposition from Heimdall where you're like, oh, if I left the gate open, it would pretty much destroy the planet. We get a little bit of that information, and it flies over our heads the first time we watch it.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, that's why you turn it on and start shooting. Like, when did this thing become a rail gun when it was supposed to be a teleporter? That's why. It really flew over my head the first time watching it.
Yeah, and Thor and Loki battle it out, and ultimately, in order to stop the machine, Thor has to destroy the Rainbow Bridge, which separates his connection to Earth, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And Loki's like, "What are you doing? If you do this, you'll never see her again." He's like,
That was actually really good. That was a good scene in my opinion. Like
Yeah.
where Thor's just hitting it, and Loki's just bargaining with him, like, "Hey, if you break it, you're not gonna see her again." Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but like,
You know what? Like, the reason why this Rainbow Bridge scene and this sacrifice from Thor of not being able to see Jane for a bit was cool. And this is just what I'm saying about Captain Marvel. Because this is the point where the character from first act is a certain way with a certain amount of shitty things about them.
yeah,
And it's now a completely different thing. Now, that's the basic formula of how to make a hero. Because like you now have Thor prioritizing what he has to do over what he wants,
yeah,
and that's fucking cool.
yes,
It's very fucking cool, and he also lost his brother in this.
"Yeah,"
You know.
because he's like, "I did it for you, father," and he's like, Odin's like, "No, that's not what."
yeah.
Or it's not
This
the
is
right-
where
right thing to
somewhat-
do.
yeah,
This is where you establish a lot of things that would actually shape the MCU for a long while. Like, the continuous loss that Thor has to suffer throughout his arc, and him having to soldier on through it, later on having peace, and later on moving on with his life as an individual, not as what he's told to be, but as him. It's the self-discovery of a person who's just really trying his best for everybody, And he goes through this by losing things.
He lost
and-
a lot.
For Loki, it's a continuous number of knowing that no matter how hard he tries to be a shitty person and how much vengeance he wants to plot on the people who wronged him, he's not a bad enough person to do that. Like, he had to accept his own goodness, and despite what everyone's also claimed that he's the god of mischief, doesn't make him a bad person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he was kind of the cause for why he fell, right?
Yeah, he let go.
Yeah. And that is not a selfish act. Like a selfish person would have wanted to just fucking survive no matter what. And
Yeah.
it shows that there's a certain nobility with Loki, and that's what makes him have so much longevity. Like, he was maintained forever. He's still alive! He's still fucking alive! This guy's died almost every time he's appeared. But like...
Of Loki. So...
The only thing mischievous about him is the fucker just doesn't know how to stay down. But... he is the person who's maintained as the MCU's most complicated villainous character because of this. He was so complicated, and there's so many stories you can tell with a character who's not completely evil. Who does bad things that isn't completely evil. And even though you could say that Thor is a forgettable movie, without Thor, we wouldn't have a lot of the building blocks of what we have about the MCU that's great.
That's true. We would have not had, like, space included. We wouldn't have, like, all these galactic villains that will be coming up.
It's
soon.
a good movie. Actually, look at it like this. This technically had the best third arc of most of the solo MCU movies.
I kind of like...
No, if you have Iron Man 1,
Yeah.
which is Monger versus Iron Man, that wasn't great.
Oh.
Captain America versus Red Skull was dog shit.
Yes, that's true. I would
That
say...
ended in an accident. That ended in an accident.
Let's touch the cube.
Yeah, he touched the cube and it was over.
I would say Hulk and Abomination. That was...
No, I would say Abomination is second. I would say Abomination is second.
Okay.
Because, like, second only for the sole reason that actually had no fucking bearing in what happened next. It was just a really cool fight.
Yeah.
That got me there.
Yeah.
Alright.
Objectively a cooler fight than Loki versus Destroyer than... Thor versus Destroyer than Loki. But in terms of what it did after... You know, we have the MCU because of that. Hulk versus Abomination, it's just a really cool fight.
Yeah.
He has a point. He has a fucking point.
But yeah, getting back into it real quick, like, the bridge is destroyed, Jane is sad, Thor is sad because he can't see Jane, but Heimdall can see Jane and he's like, she's doing fine. She's looking for you, actually. That's where it ends.
Look through...
That's the most heartless wrap-up I've ever heard.
What
Jane is sad, Thor is sad, everything's sad. Like, the infrastructure of Asgard is fucking broken, then happy ending.
What else is there to talk about? Like, yeah.
I mean, the after credit scene of John Hurt being very hurt, and then Iron Man appears and goes like, "Hey, John Hurt, ever heard of the Avengers?"
I don't know why John Hurt, or like, what was his name again?
Why was he... That wasn't Hulk, right? Am I thinking wrong here? That wasn't a Hulk after credits thing.
No, the after credit scene for this one is Nick Fury.
It's John Hurt, right?
No, that's for Hulk.
Oh fuck, that is Hulk. Shit, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm old.
No, I was about to mention the reload thing. I was like, why are you saying? Okay, we get it. You're in the army, but like, never mind. It's not that movie.
I think the after credit scene is like Fury shows Selvig the Tesseract and he looks in the mirror and Loki's like, "Isn't that something?"
Oh. Then that was the build-up for Avengers.
Yeah, because right after this was Captain America First Avenger, and then the after credit scene to that was the trailer for the Avengers.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah.
What?
What?
You peeked. You peeked. I didn't hear it.
Fine.
just have like the text saying the Avengers theme playing.
I did it here just so that it could actually peak like the memes. Guess it peaked too much.
It did. Is it to the point where your mic was like, nope, I'm not using that. Yeah, ratings?
Yeah, ratings. What would rate this movie?
Damn. I would say it's an average movie. It is a good entry, and it expanded on a lot of like possibilities that this franchise can give. But at the same time, there were a lot of cheesy stuff. But then again, we could say that a lot of Phase 1 Marvel movies were cheese, especially the third act, as Seba said. I'm gonna give this one a 6.5. Like, I still do like Captain America, Iron Man, and the Hulk a lot more than this. But I'm sorry, man. Personal opinion. But yeah, it's a 6.5 for me. Like, it's still an enjoyable thing to watch, and yeah, again, it branched us out into so much more possibilities for what superhero movies can be. So, yeah. How about you, Sub?
I don't know, man. This is an easy 8 for me. Cause like, Thor's a cool dude. I know that this all happened within the course of a weekend, but he's a cool dude. He's chill. He doesn't understand how ordering a coffee refill works, but like, he's a cool dude. And arguably better than a lot of his comic portrayals. I like the Donald Blake Easter egg that they did.
I don't know that one.
He's shirtless at one point, right? And Jane gives him a shirt, which was left behind by her ex, Donald Blake.
Ah, right.
In the comics, his identity is Donald Blake.
Okay, his alias kind of thing. Right, okay, got it.
Thor is not Thor 24/7 in the 60s. He's a dude named Donald Blake. When he grabs the hammer, he turns into Thor. So, that was a little nod to that. Here, he's just 24/7 Thor, which is better. But, like, look, Thor did a lot of things better than First Avenger. Because they didn't fuck up his third act.
Yes.
Like, his movie was incredibly consistent. Like, it was on this level the whole time. It never really dipped. It was just, you start here and you end there. With Captain America, you start here, then you take a huge dip once the third act comes in. With Iron Man, it's like, it's so great, this kind of sucks. Like, the third act fight was kind of dumb. I don't like the third act fight. But it's what it is, man. If you like Iron Man, if you think Iron Man is like an 8, then this also can't not be an 8. Because he didn't fuck anything up. They did everything fine. Not exceptionally, but they did it fine.
Yeah, I guess I'll be in the middle. I'll give this a 7. Because Hemsworth and Hiddleston are great, and so is Anthony Hopkins as Odin. But like, it ultimately comes down to rewatchability, because I don't really rewatch this as much as Iron Man or The Incredible Hulk. I don't even watch the First Avenger that much. But yeah, aside from the characters I mentioned, like the rest are filler or like barely two-dimensional, like Thor's mom, Jane, Darcy.
I thought we reached
the
second movie, but
yeah, because you can tell like we're still trying to figure things out, especially like the Warriors 3. If you told me to describe how their characters are, I'd be like, I don't know. One has a beard, one is a woman, one becomes Zachary Levi eventually. Like, oh, okay. It's like the only one I recognize is the Japanese guy until Riker. Like, yeah, that's the only consistent one I know. He's cool. But yeah, it's a good entry for the Thor franchise, and is again, for what they were trying to figure out, is a good building block towards the Avengers.
It's not shit. It's not shit. Like, that's all of Phase 1. It's just not shit.
at least they kept it consistent with that one, except for Iron Man 3.
Oh no, don't remind me of Iron Man 3.
God.
Anyway, take us home, Enzo, before we start talking about Iron Man 3.
I'm saving that for next year because it's a big anniversary and I can't wait to shit on
The
it.
Mandarin! Manem chava!
I'm an actor.
I'm an actor. God.
Biggest voice for Ben Kingsley right there. But anyway, take us home, Enzo.
Yeah.
Biggest ways for extremists. That was such a good book. I hate you, Shane Black.
Yeah, I have the book too. What a waste.
Right? You read the book. That's why I'm so pissed. I love extremists so much.
Like you fucked up Iron Man 3 and then you fucked up the Predator. Like stop touching. And
Just stop touching.
yeah. Stop touching pop culture stuff, please. I'm begging. Stick to Detective Trip. Anyway, yeah, that was our video on Thor, the first one at least, and at least I can't wait to talk about the second one because that's gonna be an interesting time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You can find us at Facebook at facebook.com/geeksanddegenerates. We react to trailers, we live stream video games and about our lives from time to time. Individually, you can find me at Gandalfus1995 on IG and Twitter. How about you guys?
Since Enzo forgot, if you don't like seeing our faces, we're also on Spotify.
Oh yeah, of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ding the bell icon. Get notified of when
All the important stuff to keep us alive, by the way.
I'm gonna go back to it once we're done.
Dude, I don't think that's the best way to advertise your podcast. So if you like what we're talking about, but think our faces are as sour as your milk left out in the sun, check out Just Our Voices on Spotify.
But where can they find you, Seth?
Alright, you can find me at facebook.com/Slurrp Media, SLURRP Media on Facebook. We stream and we do podcasts. These guys, they're doing podcasts all the time. That's why I'm here. But we stream video games like Fortnite, sometimes Valorant, sometimes League, sometimes Dota. We streamed Witcher at one point. We might stream Warzone again. I might start streaming Apex again. But yes, we talk about our lives. We talk about geek culture. We love all of this stuff. And if you, for some reason, want to follow me personally, which I don't know why you would do, you can find me on Twitter at SebTheHarmacist and on Instagram at SebTheHarmacist.
And you can follow me at JomGOM on Instagram. It is my art account.
He's a very good artist. Follow him.
Yes. And please remember to stay safe, wear a mask, social distance, and get vaccinated if you can. Get your booster for fuck's sake. And that's all the time we have for this video at least. We'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Yep.